There's something incredibly powerful about a practice. If you see this ad, like if you're thinking about starting something, if you're thinking about it's a podcast, it's a newsletter, it's you're gonna start posting on TikTok, you're whatever it is you're thinking about doing. If your first thought is how can I quickly monetize this and make it blow up, you're probably gonna crash into the wall. But if you say I'm going to use this as a public forum for practice, it will shift your mindset and it'll shift how you show up. And here's why. I've made a commitment to myself, but I've also made a commitment to your inbox. I promised I was going to show up in your inbox every morning. What happens if I stop doing that? What happens if I break that promise? What does that say about me? What does that say about who I am? And you break your promise enough to people, people stop showing up. So for me, the power behind it is the practice of daily showing up. And if you're somebody who's watching this and you're thinking about content creation, or you're thinking about writing and you're struggling, like, man, what about writer's block? And what if I run out of ideas? You don't get a chance to run out of ideas if you said you were going to show up every day. You will bang your head against a wall and an idea will pop. You will show up. And obviously you don't want to just throw random stuff out there just to say you checked the box and did it. But when you start to build this practice, it completely revolutionizes the way you think. It changed because now insights are coming to you in ways that they hadn't before, because now you're open and you're looking. Now I'm looking around.
Like, the way that I looked at it, like, and because again, I have to thank you because you inspired me. I started a new practice a little less than a week ago where I said I'm going to make a Twitter thread every single day. And what I found is, even really early on, again, I'm only like a week in, but I started to get really good at writing. I've never been one to ever say that I'm a good writer. And it started, we talk about stories to tell ourselves. Well, as a kid growing up, I had teachers that would just like, literally like, you suck at writing. Like, this is not your thing. Like, you need to just go and keep talking. Like, it's not your thing.
Can you bounce a basketball? Okay, cool.
Yeah, like they're like, oh, like, you know, for me it was like, hey, you're really good at like shooting double legs and dropping people on their head, but writing's not your thing. And there was one teacher though, shout out to Miss Abraham, man. So there's a teacher I had, Miss Abraham, that started the process of unlocking what now I fall into, which is like I actually like writing. And it was because I was writing, I was really, really frustrated one day, and I go to her class and we had to do some essay. And I'm like, I'm just really frustrated. And she was like, well, why? And this, by the way, like this was like 9th or 10th grade. And I was like, I'm just frustrated because I have shit I want to say, but I can't say it. Like, it won't come out. And she's like, well, what's the problem? Like, is it writer block? Like, what's going on? And I go, I don't have the fucking words. And and she was like, well, just say that. And I said, say what? Like, I can't swear. And she goes, first of all, I'm your teacher. And she goes, Raylan, there are no such thing as bad words. It's what is different though is the effectiveness of those words. So obviously, if you fill the page with F words, like, you know, maybe it's not as effective. But if you're struggling and the first word out of your heart is fuck, write fuck. And again, this is my 10th grade teacher. And I was like, what? I could do that? And then all of a sudden, writing became easier because I was writing for me. So anyway, my point is, when you let go of that resistance and just create to create, I find now with me doing Twitter posts, I thought the same thing. I was like, I'm going to run out of shit to write about. Now, if you put a camera in front of me, I can just go off for days, as you know. But the writing, for some reason, but what I found, to your point, was the more I wrote, the more I started seeing. And then the more I started seeing, now I have these notes where it was just like one word things and these kind of things. And now I'm starting to appreciate the value, for example, of like I've always been obsessed with comics, but like now I'm like, oh, I get why they say you have to write every single day. Now I understand like the benefit for me is not like growing on Twitter. That would be a byproduct. I'm doing it, which is what you're referring to, is I'm doing it to improve on the skill set, and I'm doing it for me. Yeah. And the cool part is, again, even writing on Twitter has improved my content, my video content. Because now I think in terms of, I realize when I speak, especially like my reels or short form content, I have a lot of buffer in there. It's making me be more concise with my words. It's making me form, like, because the other part of it too is like, if you do, especially email, Twitter threads, blogs, the most important thing is not the content of that blog or Twitter post. It's the hook. And so now I'm like getting better at like writing hooks. I can say hooks, but writing for some. So the cool thing is about what you do and why again you inspired me to start was because I was afraid of it. I was like, writing is not my fucking thing. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. No one's gonna read this shit. And then I started doing it. And then now it's like, oh, like there's so many other benefits to it that I didn't even notice.